Hey juniors, today we're going to talk about using polls for your research. Your learning target, I can design a targeted bias-free poll that fills a specific research gap in my iSearch project to create a nuanced, locally relevant argument. Your success criteria will be that you can identify one specific research gap, draft 3 to 5 neutral, bias-free questions, and select a measurement scale that fits your goal. So polling your peers is an option for primary source research. Books, subject matter experts, and academic databases can provide the what, but a peer poll can provide the so what within your immediate community. We aren't just asking, do you like coffee? We're gathering targeted data to support a specific line of inquiry. So step 1 is going to be to define your rhetorical purpose. When deciding whether you need to poll your peers, and before writing a single question, ask yourself, what gap in my research does this fill? Here are some examples. The first one is a locality gap. So your research goal might be contextualizing trends, and why this would be effective for iSearch is that it proves whether a national statistic actually applies in your local community. A topic example could be gender equality in sports, as I keep going back to, as an example. And the poll question and strategy could be, in the last 30 days, have you attended more boys varsity games or girls varsity games? And why you would be asking this is if the WNBA is breaking national records, but your local bleachers are empty for girls games, the national trend doesn't reflect your school's reality. The Mythbuster gap is challenging assumptions. It provides evidence to debunk a common stereotype or an old wives' tale held by your peers. An example of a topic could be student burnout. A question could be, what causes you more stress, the actual workload, assignments, or the social pressure of college applications? So as an example, adults often assume that homework is the enemy, and a poll might prove that it's actually prestige anxiety or something else that's the enemy. Please see the handout that goes with this mini lesson for more examples. So step 2 is the anatomy of an effective poll. You want to have a hook that explains why you're asking your questions. So an example would be, I'm investigating the impact of sleep on SAT scores. You want to limit your questions to from 3 to 5 questions. If it takes more than 60 seconds, people are going to click away. You can think about your question types. You could use a Likert scale, which is that one that you've seen, the 1 through 5 scale. And you really want to avoid yes or no questions. So a question like, to what extent, or something like that would be more appropriate. And the demographic question is to filter your data. So you might want to ask for a grade level or whether the person plays a varsity sport or something like that as examples. Step 3, you want to avoid a leading question. Language really shapes perception, so if your poll is biased, your data is going to be invalid. A weak example of a question is, don't you agree that the school start time is way too early? This language is biased and can invalidate your data. A stronger neutral or objective question would be, on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate your alertness during first period? This neutral question gathers data, and it's more objective than the leading question or biased question. Okay, let's talk about implementation strategy and ethics. For the platform, Google Forms is a great one for you to use. It's free, it's easy for us to access here, and the setup is really pretty user-friendly. You want to make sure that you toggle the limit to 1 response setting. So if you need help finding that, just let us know. Create a compelling call to action when you share the poll, such as, hey, help me prove a point for my iSearch. It takes 30 seconds. Something to motivate the people that you're asking to actually take your poll. And you always want to state that responses are anonymous, and then you need to keep them anonymous so that you get really good objective data. Okay, in step 5, you're going to transition your data to prose to put into your paper. So avoid simply dropping charts and graphs into your paper without providing any context or explanation. Instead, you're going to want to use your poll results to show evidence for or against your argument. You want it to support your research claims. So, for example, while national studies show a 20% rise in student anxiety, my poll revealed whatever your poll revealed. That's an example of how you would transition your data into prose for your paper. So, putting it all together, you want to identify the research gap. So, for the topic of student burnout, for example, the goal would be to challenge an assumption held by adults. Formulate your poll questions. Which causes you more stress, your actual school workload or social pressure of college applications? And then translate it to a narrative sentence. While many assume homework is the primary source of burnout, my poll revealed something else is true for my peers. In an iSearch context, remember that the most interesting data might not be the stuff that confirms your research, might be the data that complicates it. If the experts say one thing and your peers say another, that contradiction can be where some of the best thinking and writing could happen. Beyond debunking myths or gauging vibes, polls can act as a bridge between academic theory and the lived reality of your specific community. Thank you so much for your attention, and I'm here if you have any questions, as is your classroom teacher. Happy researching.